What's up everybody, this is Craig Peters here from Soundiron, and on today's tips and tricks we're going to be talking about everybody's least favorite topic, which is writer's block. Now, dealing with writer's block, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and when it hits, it sucks because a lot of times it happens when you least expect it, or maybe you got deadlines, or if you're just trying to be creative and you're just getting some kind of mental roadblock, it could be frustrating. So in this video I wanted to offer some things that I like to do as far as getting out of writer's block, or things to just kind of break me out of any sort of creative ruts. So I put together a few ideas of some things that I like to do to sort of get some ideas going and break me out of any kind of creative dry spell. So one of the first things I want to talk about is using drones or ambience pads. And for me, I feel like something as simple as just one note, some kind of drone or ambience, something that can inspire things that you can lay on top of it. And I've heard of some other musicians and composers who do this sort of thing just to get some sounds flowing through your speakers. And it's a great way to just start vibing out on something without having to do too much work. Alright, so for this first example, what I'm going to be using is the shimmer ambiences from Glitch Hero. This one's cool just for, it has a very sort of bright, sparkly kind of sound. I mean, there's different ambiences for different types of sounds. A lot of our libraries, I'm sure as you guys know, come with a variety of different ambiences and drones. For this one, it's just the first one I picked. I thought it was cool, and if you're wanting to write something a little bit more uplifting and bright, this might be something cool to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play one note. I'm going to play a B, and then I'm going to sort of write using the B major scale, and just sort of play around and try to get some ideas. So it's just, having one drone to just allow you to sort of play musical melodies over it. And it's a cool way to sort of start figuring out some melodies as well. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the use of arpeggiators. Now, arpeggiators should never be an excuse for being lazy, but at the same time, it's a great way to sort of get some other ideas going when you're not feeling particularly inspired. Now, for arpeggiators, there's different ways you can do this. You can sort of like do it with chords. You can do it with, certain drones. In micro organ, there's a really cool effects preset that I like. It's called Octave Slave. And what I like about it is just it has a really awesome energy to it. And it's really easy to sort of get inspired, especially if you're writing some sort of action cue or some kind of, something with drama in mind, maybe before something big happens. And let me just go ahead and play it for you and just get an idea of how it sounds. So very gritty, has a cool rhythmic pulse to it. So if, let's say, I was supposed to write something that was in the vein of, let's say, an action cue, this might be something cool as a go-to just for sort of setting the pace a little bit, and then from there, layering in maybe some big epic drums or something. So let's just go ahead and play around with that and see what we can come up with. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some Apocalypse percussion elements on top of it as well. So that's just one way you can kind of go about doing something like that. Just having some kind of arpeggiator just sort of playing in the background is a really cool way to sort of get some ideas going immediately, really. Now the third thing I want to talk about is the use of pedal notes and ostinatos. Now you've probably heard the term ostinatos a lot when it comes to a lot of string writing. Hans Zimmer sort of made this popular by taking the string section or the orchestra and making it very rhythmic and very almost band-like. Now pedal notes are where you're taking one note, let's say a root note of a scale, and you're just playing it over and over, and you're sort of pedaling out and bouncing off different notes of that scale with that note. Now you can do it that way, or you can also have it as just a repeated rhythm and then just kind of use other notes within the scale to kind of play off of it. And it's a really easy way to start sounding musical, especially if you're just writing some simple piano lines. Now, you don't have to always do this with piano. You can do this with other instruments as well. For this example, I'm going to be using piano. Now, as far as using pedal notes or ostinatos, usually what I like to do when it comes to pedal notes, just starting with one note, we can, for this example, keep it in B major again. And first off, if you want, you can sort of pedal notes off of the root note. So let's say we're just going to hit B. And then start to just add other notes from the scale, pedaling off of it. So you can see it's really musical really quickly, and you can sort of get that vibe going a little bit of just, and then you can maybe instead of just pedaling notes, start to maybe add some chords on it. And then maybe start to add some melodies. So that's one way, and that's just a cool thing. And you can do that with any type of different scale or key. So let's say if you're doing it in C. When it comes to ostinatos, and an ostinato is pretty much, it's a repeated musical phrase or pattern. So if, let's say for this example, we are going to be in C minor, and we'll just use, just the first, the second, and the flat third, and we'll just make a repeated melody out of that little 4-note phrase. So that'll be our ostinato. So for this example, we'll have our 4-note ostinato, and then we'll just go ahead and play some different chords over it. And I like using the sustain pedal for this because it really adds a nice flowy airiness to it. So let's just go ahead and let's just play around with this ostinato and sort of put some chords on top of it. So I sort of started changing it up a little bit after that, and that's sort of showing you how you can start off using an ostinato as some sort of musical repeated phrase, and then start to kind of add some melodies to it on top of it. So it doesn't always have to be, So, ostinatos, really useful, really powerful technique, and definitely a cool way to sort of get some musical ideas going. I definitely recommend, if you are going to start doing this, learning different scales that you can apply these techniques with are always going to be cool. Another thing you can do too is with, let's just record this idea. So another thing you could do too, if let's say you're really familiar with one key, you can go ahead and do some transposing tricks as well. So let's say you select all this and then let's just move this up a whole step and then you have this. Right? Compared to what it was here. So let's say move it up, let's put it in E now. So using little transposing tricks is cool too, especially if let's say you take this whole idea and you copy it, let's say you bring it over here, and then transpose it down back to C. So let's just hear how this sounds. Try and nudge this over a little bit more. So you can do stuff like that too if you just want to take the same idea or motif, transpose it around. Sometimes it's a useful songwriting technique. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it's fun to do, and it's fun to have just in your back pocket when you need it when you're writing music. So hopefully you guys find some of these tips helpful. There's definitely a ton of different ways to go about breaking writer's block, and we want to know what you guys do, so go ahead and leave them in the comments below. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.